Hi, I'm Mike Caldwell. I'm the Director of the Business Innovation Zone. The Business Innovation Zone, or the BIZ, was created to help high-growth potential entrepreneurs and businesses in central Iowa. We provide a variety of services, including mentoring, consulting, counseling, validating business models, and help with access to funding for high-growth companies. We offer also a number of networking opportunities, including luncheons once a month and all-day seminars on subjects such as marketing and finance. You can find out more about the BIZ at www.bizci.org.
What we really want is we want raving fans. We want people who are out there talking about us all of the time. Anybody here have an unlimited marketing budget? Okay, that's what I thought. So we've got and anybody here have a marketing budget that feels minuscule? Right. So we've got to really work the plan to make sure that we get other people also out there advocating for our business or our organization. Okay, so how do we create raving fans? What does that look like? Well, it's really about creating a love affair with your customers. And the reason why that's so important is because when somebody loves something or someone, you sort of can't help but talk about them, right? And that's what we want to do. We want to create that word of mouth buzz. And I will tell you that a lot of people think that that happens by accident, that if you are really great and if you give really great service, you're just going to automatically create that love affair and that buzz. And while sometimes that happens, if you're purposeful about it, if you actually have a plan, you can make it happen in a much bigger, stronger, more consistent way. The good news is you don't have to be an angel, you don't have to be perfect, and your product doesn't have to be perfect either. That's not what it's all about. So a good company, I don't think you can be mediocre, but a good company who makes mistakes, whose product is good but not perfect, who actually employs human beings, so we know where the perfection quotient is there. A good company can create love affairs with their customers, can have their customers say, you know what, I don't care if one of their competitors offers me the same service at half the price, I'm not going anywhere. I love these guys. And we all probably have a brand that we feel that strongly about. So the rules for winning the game are pretty simple. The first one is who. Okay, so who is literally on first base? And so really what we're talking about is customers. And that's where any great marketing plan starts, is with your customers. And understanding that there's a difference between a customer and a fan. And what we want to do is we want to take customers and turn them into fans, because when they become a raving fan, when they love us, that's when we have a whole little marketing department out there, nonprofit organizations and small businesses. You're not big enough to do it all yourself, so you have to enlist your customers' help. So what turns somebody into a fan? When you think about it, fans do crazy things. This is a guy who goes to every Detroit Tigers game, which alone is odd, but anyway, he goes to every Detroit Tigers game dressed like that. Now that's a grown-up, right? So when somebody's a fan, when they love a team or a company or whatever, they're willing to do things that on the surface we think no one would do. So part of what makes somebody a fan versus a customer is that it's about them. So when you say that you love Mac products, that you love Apple, part of that is what it says about me that I own Apple products, right? So part of the brand and part of what you give your customers is you assign a meaning to the fact that they're your customer, that they support your organization, whatever that is. And you know, it also appeals to my interest. So for example, this, I don't know if the picture's a little dark, but these are folks that are dressed as Klingons, and they of course are going to a convention, right? A Star Trek convention. So odds are, and this I think is one of the biggest dangers that we make, odds are if I had said to you, hey, I have free tickets to a Star Trek convention, anybody here would have said, oh yeah, I want those. Anybody? Admit it, one, couple. There's always a couple in the crowd, right? But for the rest of you, that's not your thing. The same thing is true for customers and prospects. There is a whole world out there of people who could support your organization or buy your services. The reality is, in any room of 50 of them, 2 or 3 actually care. But we spend a lot of time chasing after the other 47 because we can't fathom that everyone isn't as whooped up about what we do as we are. And one of the ways to create raving fans is to concentrate on the 2 or 3 who are already predisposed to like and love you, and give them more of your time and attention, and not worry about the 47 who have no interest. Because odds are you're going to expend a whole lot more energy and effort to try and convert maybe one of those other 47 rather than drilling deeper and creating a better relationship with the folks who want to go to your Klingon convention, right? To your Star Trek convention. So one of the things that is true about a raving fan is they care more than the average person. And we need to identify those people, and we need to make sure that we pay a lot of attention to them. Here's a truth. Birds of a feather flock together. So once you have one person who is a raving fan, whether they love Star Trek conventions or they're a member of this group of ladies, they know other people like them. And so if they start talking about you, right? If they start saying how awesome their meeting is or the convention was, odds are their audience is going to listen. So only 2 of you raised your hands when I asked about the Star Trek convention. But now for the others of you who said, nah, that wouldn't be my thing, if your best friend said, I have 2 tickets to the Star Trek convention and I hear it's awesome. I hear the people watching is great. I hear it's fun, high energy. It's Saturday, let's go. Based on your best friend's recommendation and desire to go, how many of you would go, all right, I'll try it for a couple hours? Yeah, that's the power of word of mouth. That's the power of paying attention to the people who love you and giving them reasons to talk about you. That's the reason why for customers that you have that are in the like but not love category, we need to get them to love you. We need to up the ante so that they will say, I've got 2 tickets to somebody else who is a bird of a feather, and bring other people like them into your business or organization. There is nothing more powerful than word of mouth. I would love to tell you that paid advertising or some of the other marketing things are as powerful as that, but they're not. And I think that's getting more and more true as we as consumers get more and more cynical. And it's happening all the time. Part of that is simply because we're so bombarded by marketing messages that we just close most of them out. But we're not going to tune out someone whose opinion we like and respect, like a coworker, like a friend. I mean, how many of you have seen a movie simply that you weren't going to see simply because someone else said to you, oh, it's a great movie, right? I bet we all have. That's the power of word of mouth. And why that matters to us is these next couple statistics. 73% of all consumer decisions are based on word of mouth. This is brand new research that was just out in the last year that says that we as consumers are much more likely to pull the trigger and make a purchase if someone we know and respect and like has told us it's a great idea, it's a great product, it's a great service. 90% of customers identify word of mouth as the best, most trustworthy, and most reliable source for getting information. Now, does that mean that I actually have to have a conversation with you? Not necessarily. One of the things I've been paying some attention to lately is watching people ask for recommendations on Facebook. Hey, I need to have my roof replaced. Anybody know a good roofer? And all of a sudden, there's 10 different replies. So it doesn't have to be face-to-face, eyeball to eyeball, but it does need to be relationship to relationship, okay? So don't think that it has to be that your customer has to be armed with brochures and, canvassing the neighborhood for you. Yep. I think it's a little different because his question is, do things like reviews on Amazon count? Yes, but I think they're kind of a little watered down because it's not me talking to you, it's me talking to everyone. So it's a little, the relationship is a little different. So is that great? And if you happen to be an author, one of the key things you should be doing is getting those sorts of reviews? Yes, but it's not quite as good as a person-to-person conversation, okay? So again, here's the thing we need to recognize. Not everybody wants to be a fan. And in some cases, not everybody can be a fan. So, if you're a 20-year-old guy, you don't get invited to this club, right? Nor would you want to. But nonetheless, I think one of the mistakes we make And I think this is very true for nonprofits. So those of you that are in the nonprofit world, we see everyone as a potential donor and a potential volunteer. And so we chase after everybody. And the reality is a small subset of those people are actually going to care about your organization and what you do. And so when you find them, you need to spend a whole lot more energy talking to them over and over than going out after new people. One of the truths about marketing is most companies spend too much money chasing new clients and not enough time and money cultivating relationships with the clients they already have. It's so easy to chase after the new and to think the more we have, the better. But the reality is marketing is about, yes, going wide, but it's also about going deep. And so I assure you that whether you're spending $1 or $10 million, odds are you're spending too much chasing after prospects and not enough talking to and wooing and loving your current customers. Okay? So here's the reality. I love this chart. It's by Kathy Sierra. The idea of wanting to be everything to everybody and wanting to have everyone love us means that we're sort of stuck here because we're trying to be everything to everyone. And the reality is, to be a great brand, to be an Apple kind of brand, you have to be strong enough to say, this is what I'm about. This is who I am. This is what my company does, which means by default, we don't do that. We aren't everything to everybody. We are specialists in whatever we do, okay? So, Angela back there told you that she runs a speakers bureau and she matches up speakers with organizations, conferences, conventions. She did not say, and she books comedians for kids' birthday parties, right? You have a niche and you stay in the niche. And I think it's really tempting, especially for small businesses, to try and be everything to everybody. And the trick is really, and this is the part, especially as Midwesterners, we hate, if you have a strong brand and some people love you, by default, what's going to happen? Other people are going to hate you, right? So if you think about brands, oftentimes you can really get a great little discussion going. If you have an avid Mac user and an avid PC user, we never get viruses. That's because no one uses your computer, right? They can go for 20 or 30 minutes because by default, they love what they love, either the Mac or the PC, so much that they have to hate the other one. That's a strong brand. That's taking a stand and saying, I'm a Mac guy or I'm a PC guy, and therefore I believe that my product is so superior to the other that I will fight, to the death to defend it. That's a customer advocate. That's somebody who loves you. That's somebody who's going to go out and talk about your product or service. So the reality is, I think a lot of times people aren't brave enough to really brand themselves, that we want to try and be everything to everybody. And so that's why we don't have customer love affairs, is because we're sort of mediocre to everyone. We're not bad. We're pretty good, but we're stretched too thin. So you cannot create a relationship with someone if you don't have ongoing, regular contact with them. And that's true of a personal relationship or a customer relationship. And again, you can't have one emotion without the other. I think about Ford and Chevy. You know what I'm talking about, the mud flaps on the back of the cars or the decals. If somebody really hates a Chevy, you know what's on the back of their truck, right? It's the guy peeing on the Chevy logo. Okay, think about that for a minute. How much you must love your Ford truck to put a picture of someone peeing on a competitor's logo on your vehicle. That is customer love, right? That's great branding. That is a strong brand. So as you're thinking about your brand, one of the things you want to think about is, what can I do to excite and ignite that kind of passion? Where somebody would defend me, where somebody is saying, no, if you do not get Pat to work on your computer, you're crazy. He's the guy. I don't care if you have to have him drive 2 hours and pay his travel charges. He's the guy. Because when he leaves your house, it's all square. Or if you own a Mac, okay, great. I'm going to call him because he's the guy. You want to get somebody who's willing to actually defend you like someone defends these brands. Most people think about marketing, and what they do is they think about casting a net. So if we were fishing and I cast a big net, and I'm just say I'm fishing for tuna, and I throw a big net out there, when I bring the net back in, I have 2 tuna, I have a boot, I have a shark, and I have a bunch of garbage, right? So of all the stuff that I've gotten, I know that what I really want is tuna, but I only got 2, but I got a lot of other stuff. That's how a lot of people's marketing works, where you throw out this big net to talk to everybody, because anybody could be a customer, anybody could be a donor, right? And instead, your net comes in, and you got a lot of junk in there, and now you have to service it. How many of you have had a customer who, when you heard the customer's name or you saw them on caller ID, you or a coworker went, ugh? Anybody have a customer like that? And if you say you haven't, you're lying. We've all had them. So that's a bad customer, right? Well, the reality is they're a bad customer for you, but somebody else was throwing out their net and hoping that they caught that person, but you got them in your junk net. And so we end up working with and taking a lot of donors and customers who actually don't serve us in the long run, who actually are a bad fit. So they cost us a lot of time and energy. Now think back to the person that you thought of when I asked that question. How many of you, no names, but how many of you still have that person within your organization, that they're still a customer or a donor or have some relationship with your organization? A couple of you? But most of you, they've gone, right? And they cost you a lot of time and money to service, and they're gone anyway. So one of the fallacies about the net method of marketing is the more the merrier. I got to get everybody. Well, no, you really don't, because a lot of them are bad fits, and they just end up costing you time and money, employee morale, and they go away anyway. You want customers that are going to stick. You want customers that are going to stay. The value proposition and how much profit you can make from an existing customer or an existing donor is so much greater than what you could make by getting a new customer, because the cost of acquisition is so high. So you want customers who are going to come back over and over and over again, or donors who are going to give money every year without a lot of pomp and circumstance. So the way to do that is to figure out who your best customers are and then go after them with a spearfish. So no more net marketing. Now I know I want tuna, right? And all I want are tuna. I want a bunch of tuna. That's what I want. Because remember, birds of a feather flock together. And so those people, when you bring them together and they all love you, guess what they have in common to talk about? You. That's awesome, because now they learn more about you. And so the more of likeness that you can have in your client pool, the better. So now I know I want tuna, and I'm going to go looking for the tuna. And I'm not going to get a lot of junk in my net because I'm not using a net anymore. I'm going to swim around and find the tuna, and then I'm going to go after just them. Does it take a little longer? Yes. Is it a little more expensive in terms of my time? Yes. Is the yield of what I get going to be better for my business or organization? Yes, right? So yeah, it's a little more time intensive. Yes, you have to be a little more particular about what you do and a bit more planful, which is why most of us, by the way, use the net version, because marketing, that's sort of the last thing we think about in the day, right? But if you are willing to do sort of this legwork and figure out who your tuna is or who your Klingon is, right, and go after them with a spearfish, your yield is going to be much better than if you just bring everything and everybody in. So the question is really, once you think about who is your Klingon, now it's about figuring out how to talk to them. And all of us have Klingons in our organization, our best customers that we know, and we need to figure out how to get more of them.